Hello YouTubers, it's Travis, welcome back. We're going to have another lunch break. You guys and gals responded positively to the lunch break takeaway with like some lessons and some thinking on theory. So I'm going to put another one up here and see how you guys like that. Today we'll be talking about signaling in draft. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you enjoy your lunch. The thought was we would talk about signaling while we had lunch, unless somebody had a better idea. So do any of y'all have a better idea about what we could do for a lunch lesson? It is not leek soup, it is low sodium sirloin burger soup, which is pretty good. Hey, what's up, Manny? It might be easier to do this with maybe some of the 17 lands data up so we can look at a pack of cards while we're talking about it. So let me get that pulled up too. My data. And let's pull up a draft I did well in. Actually, I'm going to have to dig through for a minute. I'll pull this up so you can watch me kind of dig through here. But I want to find the right pack to go over this. Because this ain't it. I'll show you what I mean. Like, you can't screw this one up. You take the blob, right? Like, so let's check some of the others. I want to look at a 3-0 and see ideally one that went well. Somebody might could get an idea of signaling from this, and they might even think that that's why I took Seize the Storm, and it isn't. I can sort of talk about it through here. So what's the idea of signaling? Does anybody know what signaling actually means and like conceptually what I'm talking about when I say sending signals or reading signals in a draft? We teach some with the Socratic method here. That's where I ask you questions and y'all answer them. Yes, Cawthorn. It kind of starts with the idea that draft is a cooperative experience. And there's a reason when you're drafting in paper at competitive level that you can't talk at the table, right? Like at a local game store, some people will enforce this, some people won't. But generally speaking, you can't talk because you'd have a huge advantage if you said to your neighbor, I'm going to pass you green-black cards. Because that means they'll just get into green-black and not be in the not be in white or red, which is maybe what you want them to pass you. You can't communicate. So signaling is how you can communicate with your neighbors. And it's okay. It's good. It's encouraged. That's what you're supposed to do. If you cooperate with your neighbors rather than trying to pick cards that you think that they want, you'll get a better deck and so will they, and that benefits you. That benefits you both. It would benefit you both if you played in pod. But on Arena you don't. There's no reason not to communicate with your neighbors. So how does that work? I often say in like pack 1, pick 5, you can start to see what you should be doing. And here's a draft where we're kind of starting to see that. Like Defenestrate is definitely better than the rest of the cards in this pack. And someone might be worried about the signals that we're sending with this pack. I've heard people justify scenarios like this before. Yeah, we're not talking about team draft here, obviously. But I have seen people with a pack like this say, you're sending bad signals in this pack by taking the defenestrate. You should just take the burn the accursed and get into blue-red. Because you've got to seize the storm. You've got 2 good blue cards. You could just take this and get into blue-red. But defenestrate is way better. And the signals that we're receiving are that blue and black is open. So here's the important part about it. And this is the part I really want to drill into you, because people talk about reading signals and sending signals. Don't worry about sending signals. This is mostly people getting fancy play syndrome. Because the signals that you're sending require that the person you're sending them to understands what signals are and cares. And we've talked a lot about how in modern Magic, you don't have to read signals. You don't have to draft what's open. You can open a bomb and literally force it. So if you're sending the clearest signals to your neighbor that they should be in red-green, but they opened a black bomb and don't care, they can ignore it and get a playable deck. So everyone that's telling you to worry about the signals that you're sending, just let all that go. That doesn't matter. The signals that you're sending impact one pack, right? Because of the way this works, the person that's sending you signals, they're going to pass you 2 packs of card. The person that you're signaling is going to pass you 1 pack of cards. So reading the signals is really where you want to bear down. Is this making sense so far, or am I talking crazy stuff? Don't send signals that you want to win. No, not like that. It's just to recognize that the draft portion of the game is a cooperative experience. When I'm sitting here drafting with 7 other people, I need to be cooperating with them so that all of us get the best deck we can possibly get. There's a couple ways to do it, Gabe. The first is to recognize that this really only matters in best of 3. In best of 1, you probably don't even need to read signals. It's almost impossible to do it. So I don't want to go on too many best of 1 rants, but understand that the drafting in best of 1 is not ranked. Right? So you're going to be drafting with people who have no idea what they're doing and different card evaluations. Kind of, Manny. I'll walk you through this. I actually know exactly how to put this in terms that you'll be down with. Stick around. I'm going to compare this to something in Rust. And I think you'll grasp it. But I would say in best of 3, what I'm suggesting is, let's say that you open a killer bomb. Let's actually look at that pack I was saying here. Where like, you obviously just take the blob. There's no worry about signals. There's nothing. I don't think I forced green here. And in fact, I didn't. I was still trying to stay open. But you could literally take this blob and be like, I'm going to force green. I'll find another open color. It's that good. Right? And just like, if you took the farmer here, I could respect it. I remember this deck. We did end up playing it. And even here, I was like, okay, I'm going to take the duel because all of these cards are just filler. So like, I was like low-key forcing green here. And it worked because this card's just that good. What I'm suggesting is if you don't open a card that's just that good, you're going to need to read the signals. And that's kind of what happened with this draft, where I opened a build around and was like, let's try to get into blue-red spells. But as things kept going, like, this is a little early to be a signal. And like here, I'm passing a Blade Stitch Scab. I remember somebody telling me in chat that with passing a Blade Stitch Scab and a Defenestrate, that I was going to get cut off on blue-black and it was going to be rough. But what are you supposed to do? Not take the best cards? You can't do that. All right, Manny. So here's the deal. It's a new wipe on Rust. Your neighbors are actually nice guys. You've got your first base built. You've just got crossbows built. You're getting ready to go for a run. And instead of opening fire on you, they're like, hey, why don't you guys do the train and we'll go run. God, I don't remember all the monuments. I haven't played Rust in so long. The gas station. you can get a lot of benefit by cooperating with your close neighbors. Like a lot, to set you up against the rest of the field on that server. And that's what I'm suggesting here. The people we're drafting with, we're at a pod of 7 people. If we were going to play the people in that pod, just cooperating with the 2 neighbors on either side, I'm unlikely to play against them. I'm more likely to play against the 5 people that aren't those 2. But cooperating with those 2 sets me up so much better against the rest of the 5 that it's in my best interest to do so, and in theirs. So like if you want to think about it that way, like you've just built your first base, you're getting ready to start running some monuments, and one of your neighbors are friendly, it's probably in your best interest if you're looking to, build a giant base and get very far in Rust, to make friends with them. At least if you're at my skill level. Maybe at yours you can just murder them, but I can't get away with that. Is that making sense? Still time for more questions, as I got a little bit more soup left before we go back to drafting. But by the same token, where I was saying if you open a good enough bomb, that's like where you've just got such a good position, you don't really care to make friends with your neighbors. Exactly. Murder them after you've gotten all your resources. It's funny that there's some similarities to Magic and Rust like that. It's mostly about color. Like, it can be about card quality, but like, there's many times I've said the draft really starts at pick 5. This is not a good example of that. This one was kind of just here, green, white's open. Yeah, there was really nothing to think about here. Just got fed green, white. Well, here was a speculative pick. Best of 3 draft is not ranked. That's most of why I like it. This draft didn't go terrible. So we started with an Infernal Grasp. I think that's very reasonable. A Craft Keeper, that's reasonable. A Clear Shot, that's reasonable. This pack doesn't have much going for it. I think you could have talked about the Angler. Yeah, there's not much signaling coming here. And there won't always be signals. You want to look for it when you can. When you can't, you may just have to settle into a draft and be like, okay, this is what I've got that's open. I remember this one. I think we actually couldn't play the Lisa. Like, I tried. But green was too open for me not to play it. So we were thinking we were going to splash it. We were going to try to do something. But I remember just not seeing any black or white. But sometimes you'll see signals, sometimes you won't. Why exactly do you not like ranked? Because it is matchmaking. So, let's say we have ranked play on StarCraft. I pay X amount of dollars to purchase the game StarCraft, and then I compete. I guess Counter-Strike's a better example because I actually play that. It's a free-to-play game, but you're going to buy that AK skin, obviously. But I get Counter-Strike, I play I play competitive Counter-Strike, and I see my rank go up and down. That's cool. Paying money for that? Not great. Because like you're going to be playing against better and better players. So that means that the better I get at draft, rather than being rewarded with winning more often, I get punished for winning more by playing against harder and harder and harder opponents. So like if I'm looking to play infinitely, that is to not spend money to play arena, playing best of one's a really bad idea. Like my question would be, why would anyone want ranked draft? If it's free, heck yeah, let's rank it. It's not free. Wouldn't it mean that you draft with more diverse and dumpier people in best of 3? No, the opposite. The best of 3 drafters are on better average. Here's the thing to bear in mind. Watch this. I'm going to blow your mind. When you first open Arena, this is what it looks like. And I've had multiple people sit down at Arena and say, okay, show me how to do a best of 3 draft. Because here's Premier Draft. And they'll stare at this screen for a while and then go, okay. And then they'll look through here and go, it must be Quick Draft. And I'm like, no, that's not it. And after like an hour, they'll see this little toggle. And you can't see it, but that's fine because they can't see it either when they get started. You have to click that little toggle. So the newest players have no idea that best of 3 draft even exists. And the most competitive I want to see my rank go burr players are playing best of 1. And it's a mix of those pods when you go to draft best of 1. You're in a pod with Ben Stark, LSV, Susie, who's here for her first draft ever, and Billy, who likes green cards. Whereas if you go into best of 3, it's generally, I think it's generally what you would bump into if you went to day 1 of a GP. It's people that are like, yeah, I know how to draft. And some of them may be really good and some of them may be worse than others, but it's not that first-time player next to a pro. Like the signals are almost impossible to read in best of 1 for me, and most people will force attack. That's where the LSV saying lol force blue-black, it's great. Like you can do that in best of 1. Just kind of can't get it here. If you have the money to keep playing ranked, that's great. Like by all means do it. I want to have good games and I want to not, like every time my gym count gets low, I get stressed. Right? This is my job. If it costs $5 to get in the door at your job, that starts to get scary. But these are my thoughts on signaling. Hopefully that will be helpful to some folks. Special thank you to my patrons. Thank you very much for supporting the work that I'm doing here on YouTube. Paul, Jesse, Punk, Rusty, Adrian, Hero, Joe, Jesse, Jacob, Scott, and Basti. You guys are awesome. If you'd like to become a patron, you can find a link below to my Patreon and support me there. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.